Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of NeuroNotes. I'm Kenzo, this is Sam. As always, we're the physiotherapists from PhysiKits, and this is our podcast where we talk about information from neurological rehab and to make it accessible to everyone driven to learn more. Now, sort of to finish off a bit of a three-part series with how to exercise, this is one where we're talking about a major barrier and how to overcome it, and that's fear. So the question we're answering is can I exercise safely at home with a neurological condition? We have sort of three main questions that we're trying to answer today. One is just overall whether it's safe for someone with a neurological condition to have exercise at home. Then it's what equipment do I need to get started? And then how do I actually get started? And so it's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm. And we operate out in the community, in people's homes, pretty much most of the time. So someone would say we're specialists in figuring out how to get therapy sorted at home.
And it's a good puzzle that we always really enjoy.
Yes. And it's so crucial to all the neurological principles that are important to delivering effective healthcare.
For sure. And by the way, just if you want to support the show, the best way to do that is by just subscribing here on YouTube, clicking that bell as well. Yeah. We've also just put out a little donation page for anyone that wants to support us to make sure we can help keep things free. Just because it does take a lot of time and resources to make these episodes, and we put a lot of effort into researching them and actually making sure we give out high quality information.
Even just a coffee on our Monday keeps us fueled up to give us the energy to keep these great videos coming.
Yeah. No particular amount. Just like anything truly really helps and makes our day.
Yeah.
So
even just subscribing and watching through the end of the video makes a huge difference to us.
Yeah.
So thank you anyway just for watching this far.
Yeah. We appreciate you being here. So to get started with the first question, Sam, is it safe for someone with a neurological condition to exercise at home?
Absolutely, absolutely. And fear is such a big barrier for most people. Usually, people get so scared because it's hyped up to be this really dangerous thing from healthcare professionals themselves. Like neurologists sometimes can plant a seed that they can't really do too much, which is just false in my opinion. And there's so many ways you can break things down and build them back up to be safe and effective in the home environment. So absolutely, yes.
100%. Yeah, that's so true. I think even without realizing sometimes, I think they can just trying to be cautious and like make sure people know about safety first, which I fully understand. But yeah, sometimes it can lead to things being misinterpreted.
Yeah. Usually someone's first response to losing some of their condition is other people are always very quick to jump in to offer help to stop you from doing certain tasks that you might find tricky. So everyone's first instinct is come in and help out where they can to stop you from doing things. Whereas it probably needs to be the other way around, of jumping in, trying and getting you to do more yourself and being there to support that.
Yeah, fully. Couldn't agree more. The amount of times I've gone in to see a new client and who has a neurological condition, and their sort of support network is trying to keep them staying in the chair because they're, of course there are the elephant in the room. People with neurological conditions do have balance impairments, these kinds of things that can be legitimate safety concerns, or they look very unsteady on their feet. Maybe they've had a fall in the past, something like that, and the family's like, oh no, just take it easy, stay sitting there. But of course, that stops them from doing the exercise and the volume of exercise that is going to actually counteract those symptoms and improve them over time. And so instead, I just see them, they have a whole pattern of deconditioning, which they've worsened, they've lost strength, their balance has gotten worse.
And there's usually a window in the beginning that can be addressed. So receiving too much love and support and compassion early on can actually take away from someone's ability to do things for themselves. Like a good way to think about it is if you're just consistently preparing someone's meals for them all the time, they're going to lose that skill to make those meals themselves.
Use it or lose it, as they say. Yeah.
And that might sound a bit mean, but sometimes people need to give something a crack to do it themselves, so them and their families and their support network can learn what are the parts they actually need help with.
Exactly. And just to take that point a bit further, even I've seen so people can have the right mindset and they want even if they might be a bit sort of coddled or extra supported at home, they still want to be making progress, and so they go to physio sessions or they have rehab sessions once a week, once a fortnight. and they work really hard there. But of course, as we've discussed before, just having those like sessions that are infrequent isn't enough actual overall volume or dosage if you're seeing exercise as a medicine to get the benefits. And so having the at-home practice is not only safe, but it's all, if done the right way, it's also like necessary to have the improvements.
As humans, we usually always just want to come in and help out when we can. We see someone struggling, usually we want to try and help out. Sometimes struggle is an opportunity for someone to work on something themselves, and knowing what is a challenge someone can overcome and they should try and do themselves, and what they genuinely need help with because it is a safety concern, is where a trained eye can be very, very helpful.
Yeah. Which I think pretty much like leads in, like if to make exercise safe, like if you want to be able to exercise safely at home, and we've managed to convince you, then of course there are a few things that need to be in place. Like I think one is knowing like what is safe, making sure like the exercise that you have chosen or that you've been prescribed are appropriate for you and your condition at home. Another one is having a safe area to exercise, which we'll get to in the next major question. And then of course, knowing your own limits and not jumping in too quickly or like sort of jumping the gun on something that's very advanced without working up on the basics first.
And getting someone in to help you out to set it up if you need to.
Yeah.
And being aware that that is a really important step for some people.
Yeah, of course. For the rest of the episodes, we also will be sort of broadly talking about like talking to people who still independently walk around at home, can do most things at home themselves without much assistance. They don't have like a major walker or someone's arm support or a rail installed at home they need to mobilize. People with that in mind like can exercise pretty much safely without needing to stress. But even people who do have this support need, like Sam said, like just if you initially have a physio to prescribe you the right exercises that are safe for your condition and your own personal level of balance, level of strength, etc., they should be perfectly safe at home, prescribed the right way.
Another thing too is that doing some exercise at home is targeting the goals that you set as specifically as you can. I think that is wildly underrated. Being in, let's call it a big physio gym or a big room where you have all these amazing exercise machines, and the standing grab rails and the stairs with rails on both sides is a fantastic way of practicing some repetition and volume. It isn't specifically your setup at home, which is what you're trying to improve on yourself. So I think that yes, everyone should be able to get some exercise set up at home. One of the biggest reasons for me is because you can set it up to target exactly what you're trying to work on yourself that is important to you.
Yeah, so basically puts the rehab into actual context, so you make sure that you're actually getting functional improvements in your daily life instead of just numbers on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing it in that environment makes it make sense. And I think in these previous episodes, we've talked a lot about the motivation and finding the reason why to keep you driven through the times when it's a lot harder. If your goal is to get better at your stairs indoors, to be able to keep going up and down between your bottom floor of your house and your top floor of your bedroom, where you have your amazing bed set up with all your things around, we want to keep you going up and down those stairs as much as possible. What a great place to practice it, and you can see the rewards in front of you right there.
Yeah, perfectly said. Which leads really nicely into our second major question then, which is like, what do I need to actually exercise, say, at home? Like, do I need a specific equipment space? Do I need lots of equipment? Do I need like a home gym? What are your thoughts?
Everyone needs 20 meters by 20 meters squared gym's floor with the most expensive rubber flooring they can get. You need a dumbbell rack from 0.5 up to 45 kilos, and you need some of these new hydraulic pressing machines for pushing, pulling, and legs in both ways, I think.
I'm a big proponent for like indoor Olympic swimming pools these days. Yeah, I think hydrotherapy.
Hyperbaric chamber is a bare minimum. Bare minimum if you really want to get the PhysiKits branded stuff in.
Coming soon.
You don't need any of that at all,
unless
you have $200,000 laying around, which I don't know about you, Kenzo, I don't.
I wish.
So I won't be building anything of that in my house.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. People, it's such a sticking point for some people, but really, you have a body. Body can provide its own resistance. You have things at home that you do little bits of exercise without realizing every day, standing up from a chair. Perfect place to start.
Strength training that most people know as weights in the gym is a completely different type of training to doing rehab exercises for a neurological condition at home. They are two completely different worlds, but they are so commonly viewed as the same thing.
Yep.
The goals are completely different. The equipment and the environment that you need is also completely different. Yes, you can do both in the same place, but you don't need all that. There is so much you can do at home without all those extra fancy things, which all the extra fancy things are there to give you more stimulus for the same thing. You don't need all these fancy ways of doing it. You need the same repetitive way that you can repeat day in, day out.
Exactly. Again, it comes down to that whole word of specificity that we love to talk about as physios, where people that go to the gym are usually after what we call hypertrophy, like they're trying to grow their muscles bigger, which of course, if that's a goal of yours, totally fair. But with neuro rehab, we're trying to reverse disease processes, like actually get adaptation in the brain as our like primary focus. And there are ways, so many ways at home to have that happen and provide the stimulus for that doesn't need much equipment.
Now remember, physiotherapy and a personal training goal. I'll give you two good examples. Personal training goal, increase your bench press up to 60 kilos for 10 reps. A physiotherapy goal, get you being able to continue mobilizing every day to work, on the bus, up the flights of stairs to your level in the building, and then getting home, all with enough energy. Two very, very different goals. They need two different settings to be able to work on.
And so putting those goals into context, like if you think about things you're thinking, when you're thinking up of a goal, you're thinking of what is my daily life looking like what am I trying to improve actually that's happening on a daily basis? Probably involves the stairs you have at home, probably involves the chair and making it easier to stand up and down from the chair that you get out of every day, the sofa, so on and so forth. Those are the bits of equipment that you can then use to turn into an exercise. Same with balance. If you're struggling to balance when you're cooking lunch or dinner, then you can practice in that exact space, and you can use the bench as a stable platform to then sort of put your hands on to steady yourself, gradually try and take that assistance away, or any kind of the back of the table, any kind of sturdy surface can be used as a balance assistant as well.
All the dual tasking requirements of being around the house too, whether that be, getting the kettle on at the same time, carrying something without spilling it, navigating any dogs or pets that are trying to run around your feet and try and trip you over.
Yep.
There's so many little just normal life things in the home environment that you don't find in these beautifully controlled, these optimal climate controlled gyms, which are just, sitting at a lovely breezy 23 degrees all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so big differences.
100%. And even actually for those that have the goal of wanting, even with a neurological condition, have the goal of wanting to bulk up a little bit more, get beyond that average level of strength and really push their limits beyond what would be considered neurological rehab, there are ways to add that resistance in. So if we're talking resistance strength training, sure, you can work your chest muscle by doing heavy bench presses at the gym with heavy dumbbells or heavy barbells. You can also just use your own body weight. So you can do a whole bunch of push-ups. And people think, to gain strength, I need to do really low numbers with a very heavy weight. And sure, that does work. And they think if I keep pushing numbers up higher and higher, I'm just working on endurance or something. And while that is based on a little bit of data, it's never black and white. It's not like, suddenly I've crossed the 20 rep mark, I'm going on to 30 reps, my muscles are wasting away, I'm just getting endurance now. I say, no, your muscles are still going to they get fatigued, they're going to respond to that. The brain is still working hard to drive that work that you're doing. You're still going to get the same improvements. It's just a little bit different, but yeah, absolutely still works.
Yeah. And we in our community, we know lots of people that love their gym as a strength-based as a strength-based program because they love it.
Yes.
Because they love being involved in improving their lifts, putting on muscle mass, and it's just fun. That is a fantastic goal to get towards if you're ticking off all these other things. So I would say getting into the gym is like an end state for someone. I love getting them to that point where they're so invested and they've started to love this health and fitness lifestyle. They're like, oh, I'm going to get into the gym. I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, you're about to take everything to the whole next level.
Yeah.
You're about to fall in love with it even more.
But you're going to see that cog turning and they're like, oh, they're picking up as a hobby.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
And while we've harped on a lot about people, it being so important for people to do stuff at home, getting to the point of being able to do things at the gym with a neurological condition is fantastic. Yep. Oh my goodness. We could make a whole other episode on how great the gym is for people with neurological conditions, because there seems to be a little bit of a myth out there that anyone with a neurological condition, the gym isn't appropriate for them. Absolutely, it can be. It can be one of the most amazing resources they add into their life that maybe wasn't there before.
For sure. I think sometimes too, people will have that as a goal though. They'll think it's a bit scary, a bit intimidating, don't know where to start. And sometimes home stuff can actually be a good bridge or a gateway to that, where you can replicate some things at home with minimal to no equipment. Like the body weight that I mentioned, but also say you follow your favorite fitness influencer and they're showing some rowing exercise using big bars or cable machines at home. You can create that same movement to start with just very limited resistance. Something like a heavy jug of water, start with it half filled, gradually fill it up higher and higher. Imagine if it's a 2 litre or gallon, whatever it is in America, bottle that you make heavier and heavier by adding more water, or fill up a backpack with random stuff and make heavy phone books or something, and if they still exist, and use those as resistance to start with, and then you just learn the motor pattern, and then you'll feel more ready to then take it to the next level at the gym if you want to.
So like getting creative.
Oh, we love creativity.
For those listening for the first time, we have our amazing PhysiKits programs that we make, and we've got them all online, but we have come up with whole programs, and we decided from the very beginning that we wouldn't use any of the equipment that we take to people. We would, from the get-go, we decided we are only going to build this with things people have lying around the house anyway.
Yep.
So getting creative with that was so much fun. That was such a good project.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, no equipment required is one of our biggest points that we like to talk about before that. Yeah.
So I guess the next thing would be the actual space that that your little workout area is set up in. So I think there's a few key principles here that will just make it so much more effective. I think just number one, having a dedicated space, knowing that this is my little spot, this is where I keep my stuff, that it can be 2 meters by 2 meters. It can be, it doesn't have to be much at all. Just even just having a corner where you can just keep your stuff in a little orderly way. So, once you finish, you can put it back in the same way, and it makes it more inviting to come back and do it the next time.
Yep.
And you can just keep your chair there, any bands, any steps, any balls, all those little things that just don't take up much space. It's in a little box in the corner, ready to go, ready for you to come back next time.
Yeah, for sure. One little thing I would mention though, if you're making that little space as your little workout zone, just make sure you remove any clutter or anything that might be a trip hazard, or especially once you've finished, if you leave a mat on the ground, just fold it up, just so that when you come back into that space, you're not going to trip over anything if you're a bit distracted. And that's just one little caveat with a neuro condition that's good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But I also think some exercises can be just put straight into context as well. If you're practicing strength on stairs, you can just do them at the stair with the rail. Or if you're practicing such a great leg exercise, foundational one is just sit to stand, standing up and down from a chair that's often used. You can just do it from the sofa or the lounge. Yep. As long as you don't get too distracted. Or once again, balance exercise at the kitchen bench or something. Yeah.
So then what would you, if you had to pick, I guess we'll get to this a bit later, but we'll get into the specifics of what you would have in someone's exercise space.
I think so. If we were to design an exercise space and put little bits and bobs around, what would be the main things?
Yeah, so like the PhysiKits basic toolkit.
Yeah.
If people are jumping on, listening to us for the first time, they don't know too much about what we do, what would you get them if you could give them a little shopping list? Be like, here you go. Here's a few essential items we think would be great.
If they've outgrown the basic stuff around the home and they really are trying to take the next level going to the gym.
Yeah, and they've got a few things set up already.
Yeah.
But they've kind of got this idea of, maybe I can build my own little neuro rehab gym at home. They want to try and add in a few extra things, make it their own dedicated space.
One of my favorite things, one of my go-tos that I actually get a lot of my clients who are taking it to the next level to get, is just like a resistance band set. No, it's such a cliche physio thing, but I feel like it is for a reason. Just the ability to change the direction. Like if you're using any kind of weights or like water bottles, whatever at home, you're sort of forced to play against gravity, providing that, like turning that into an actual resistance that your muscles have to fight against. Whereas, or your limited body weight, which is like, say if you want to work your chest muscles or that pattern of pushing, you have to be pushing against something or like go onto the ground and push against to do a push up that way. Gravity always has to be involved in some way. With bands, it becomes so much more flexible, so you can just like open up ranges of motion that are inaccessible otherwise, really. Where, say, if you want to do like a rowing pattern, it's so much easier to do that than find a way to like lean back and pull yourself up. So they can be so cheap and like accessible online too, just on like eBay or Amazon or something. There's so many like band sets there these days, and they're scalable, so they often come with like a set of very low resistance all the way up to very high resistance. Makes it very clear and linear to then progress over time.
To add into that too, there is so many little funky attachment points you can get with these things as well.
Yep.
That make it so easy, so easy.
Yep.
So like little attachment points that you can put behind your door. So they're almost like a little flat thing that goes through, so it'll go, you close your door on it, and then the button almost sits behind the door.
Yeah.
And that way you won't move.
It's rock solid.
Yeah, rock solid.
Yeah.
You can have little attachment points. I'm pointing at my door up here, but we can put it behind a door up here. That means it'll stay up the top. And then you can have parts that attach them onto the door handle that like lock on there. You can have like little wrist straps. If you don't have great wrist control, you can strap them to around your wrists.
Yeah.
There's so, and like just the lengths and variations you can get, it gives you so much variety.
Yeah.
That takes up no space. They weigh almost nothing.
Yep.
They all come in a little carry bag to keep them all stored and secured away.
Yeah, like all those attachments, by the way, they usually, if you find the right, just browse online, like usually they all come in like the one set. It's not like you have to go find them all. They're all just in the one package. Yeah, so it's really, really handy. And even if you're in like a major pinch and you have like severe balance problems, you need someone to support you all the time. For those people, like I even find like I can get them to set things up from their chair, so they can use their foot as a resistance point, keep one on the ground, and practice that way. And they're getting like a little bit of exercise and motion and just movement in the day instead of being stuck in the chair doing absolutely nothing.
Yep.
So yeah, that'd be my go-to, I think.
Well, mine, just to add into we'll go from the floor up. We'll build it upwards.
Yeah.
I am a big advocate of having some variation of surface underneath you. Because let's say you got your floorboards, or you got some carpet, or you got some wood. It can feel okay, but that still feels a little bit more like a home. So for me, having something that represents a bit more of my workout space underneath me, I think is really important. Yeah, it ties together. So a few options. It depends on what your goals are, but I have a bunch of these really great like folding mats. They're kind of in like 5 panels of rectangles. They can fold up to like this little square that you can almost use as like a little step of like a variation in height. Also like a soft step. Also just fold it out, and all of a sudden you have this great little soft place underneath you to be able to get up and down without bruising your elbow.
So like when it's fully unfolded, it's sort of the length of a body, like they can lie down.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use it like a yoga mat, but you can also stack it up like it's a little step. Like an exercise step. And obviously adds a bit of extra challenge because it is not firm. It gives underneath you. And it can slide around, so you've got to be careful with that. That's where non-slip mats underneath some of this stuff can be incredible. To go even simpler than that, the big like work industrial warehouses, like for us in Australia, it's Bunnings Warehouse,
Home Depot,
Mitre 10, Home Depot, even like we have Kmart, Big W, Target. What is it in America?
Costco,
Walmart.
Walmart, Walmart.
They sell these relatively cheap like gym floor mats, and they're like these giant big squares of puzzle pieces that fit together, and you can like make, and they come in like, I don't know, it's almost like a meter.
Yeah, meter
by meter, and you can get like 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you have this almost like giant square that is now this it's not soft, but it's not hard. It's rubber, gives you a bit more grip underneath your foot, and it's like a gym floor that you just set up in your own home that you can fold and pack away.
They're the same ones. If anyone's ever watched martial arts stuff, like little dojos and stuff, or been to a martial arts class ever, usually they're often used there as well. You can see like little. I remember going to class and looking down the floor and being like, oh, what are these little puzzle piece looking bits? But yeah, that's what it is.
And they are literally just hard rubber hard
Yeah.
rubber put together, and yeah, my only thing is some of them can be a little bit heavy. That is like, there's a few different styles. Some of them are much denser rubber. Some of them made to be more like foamy and cushiony. They're a bit lighter. It'll depend on what you're after in particular. But I think having some surface underneath you that means that you can get up and down off the ground without worrying too much about like bruising your elbow or your knee, and not having like a sore spot if you're having to kneel on one knee. Is really, really beneficial. It just makes the whole exercise experience feel a little bit more professional and comfortable.
Yeah. Even with the exact same idea in mind, like trying to pull out what we're trying to get from like say the folded mat example. I think that's a fantastic all-in-one solution. But say you have more of a bit like a jigsaw, like you like having little bits and pieces. I'd say you can get similar from like starting with like a yoga mat, and like especially ideally on the carpets, there's already a bit more padding underneath there. But it's making that space for like floor work, and then for like next level balance exercises using like you can get these foam balance pads. So they're kind of like those puzzle piece blocks, but they're a bit softer, so they're even more wobbly, to give you more stimulus to train balance in like a higher level, and also like an exercise step, like a firm one, so you can practice those like independent balanced stepping exercises away from a full set of stairs.
Now, this is where I have had some experience in cheap ones and more expensive ones. I've had both. Both do a great job, but both do come with their own pros and cons. The cheaper, smaller ones absolutely have their own pros. That must be said. They're cheaper. Usually, they're a smaller surface area. They're also at a smaller height. I think that can be so handy for someone that doesn't need one of these big, much more sturdy and taller exercise steps, because it gives you more levels of adjustment at a smaller height. So then I've
Like more incremental.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got both. I've got big, I've got small, I've got cheap, I've got expensive. The expensive ones I find are more handy for someone who has better movement capacity, and we need to almost be like jumping up and stepping on that thing and putting more pressure through it quite quickly, because the more weight that it has, the less it's going to wiggle and shuffle around. And that can be really, really handy for some people. Like a whole foot's length worth of step gives them more of a surface area to step down on quickly and do some lifting up and down without having to worry about where they're landing their foot. Whereas for someone who's trying to work on just lifting their foot up and stepping onto the block for some balance, I would almost prefer something smaller, so they have to be a little bit more targeted, precise, and accurate.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think that sort of does beg the question, like we've been listing off a lot of equipment and like things that we do as physios with that equipment. That's like why it becomes our foundational exercise stuff, but it does rely on the knowledge of actually knowing like how to use what you have, how to sub stuff in for random things around the home rather than specialized exercise equipment. Or if you do just buy exactly all those things that we said, then you have all the stuff you're like, but I don't really know like what to do or how to do it safely. And that's the next question. But before we get there, there's one other piece of equipment that we really, really recommend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
A
little bit of a bonus
today. Yeah.
That's a camera and a tripod. Just being able to track what you're doing for like really minimal cost. Like we film these on Amazon tripods that we've got off Amazon.
We've had to pick up so many tripods over this time.
Yeah.
Any bit of equipment needs a new tripod.
Yeah.
So we've just continuously rinsed and repeated the same Amazon tripod.
Yeah.
And it has done us incredibly well.
Yeah. It holds the phone so securely, and like, phone cameras are so good these days that like truly just the ability to just set that up in your dedicated exercise space, or say you're doing them in context, you want to film how your balance is looking when you're doing like something like this at the table or standing up and down from a chair, being able to film and record and then watch yourself and actually analyze what you're doing, you get a very different vantage point than when you're doing it in the moment. The brain's very good at like sort of, I guess, playing tricks on you. So you, for example, especially with like a neuro condition, you might think you're standing up and down evenly through your feet, but then you watch it back on camera, you see that you're leaning way over to one side as an example.
I use a camera in my training. I think that is a fantastic feedback source, because again, I think I'm so damn smart sometimes, and then I put myself in front of a camera, I watch it back, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
I mean, moving like that for that long and wondering why I've been loading up one side more than the other. So it just gives you feedback through a different set of eyes that normally you wouldn't be able to see. And it's, like I said, they fold up, they're really small. You don't have to do it all the time. It can just be handy to get a little check-in with how you're going. Or if you're adding a new exercise, get some feedback on exactly how you're doing it. So you can, or let's say you're learning it off a video on YouTube or from us, then you can see like, oh, actually the way that I'm doing it like this is matching up pretty much like they're saying. Fantastic. Or I'm doing it like this and I can see that actually I am doing this a bit of a leaning thing like they were saying. You can try it with a bit of a less of a lean.
And that's putting neuro principles into practice right there, because you're rewiring by looking back. You feel what you're feeling, doing the exercise, you look back and you realize that what you're feeling isn't what it actually looks like in practice, and then you have to force a rewire by adjusting, and it will feel like weird at first, and then you resettle into that and your sense of positioning and your sense of movement recalibrates. So it's neuroplasticity at work.
And feedback is so important.
Yep.
Feedback is massive. And giving yourself some feedback is an incredibly valuable tool.
Now, that leads really nicely into the final question. I think you were alluding to it there, but that's, even with the feedback system, what are you like looking against? Like, how do you know where to start? How do you know how to adjust? How do you know what the ideal looks like? You did suggest social media videos there as one option.
Yeah, well, there's so many different ways people can get some content to learn from. YouTube, social media. There's lots of programs online. They can go to like the not-for-profit pages, have some incredible resources too. And of course, our PhysiKits. We have the MS PhysiKit currently live, and people have been finding it very, very helpful. So of course, I'll shamelessly plug all of our stuff too, because obviously that's what we think is a really handy way for people to learn. And finding things that are specifically targeted towards neurological conditions, I think is like the thing that underpins what to look for.
I think, again, I've said this word a few times, but like making sure, like, specificity is so key for neuro stuff. So like you want to make sure, it's like tailored to your condition, and then also ideally the functional difficulty that you're having with your condition. So trying to not just find like a blanket, I have multiple sclerosis, I look up exercises for multiple sclerosis, see a whole slew of just cookie cutter things that are commonly prescribed for people with multiple sclerosis, and then doing them. You might be missing, or you might be wasting a lot of energy on things that you're already not really struggling with. Like you might feel weak, but actually the problem is sensation or coordination, something like that. That's masking the actual problem. And so trying to dig down into yourself and like figure out what the problems are, to then find the right resources to address that problem specifically and like related to your goals. But it's hard. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. And there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
And then there's also people get attached to certain things and they find it hard to let go of things that might have worked in the past.
Yes.
Or they've gotten really comfortable with.
Routine.
Yeah, routine, which again is like really handy because it can build up some things in a really powerful way. It can also be the thing of just doing the same thing over and over again that you just become comfortable with. It can also be the thing of you're using that time to not do something else that might be a little bit more helpful for you.
I know. That's relatable. It hits deep. I think another barrier too is like people. It's easy for us to say as physios like that. Oh, that's not weakness. It's coordination. But figuring that out, it relies on like our years of expertise. And so to shamelessly plug again, like we created the PhysiKits not as like a resource of, you have MS, do this stuff. It's all about the how and the why. So like we teach the science of the different impairments, we call them as physios, or the difficulties that come out of a condition, what to look for, how to test this in yourself, and then the science of addressing it. So you learn the fundamentals of how to address and create your own exercises to address these problems related to your specific goals. We really felt there was a gap that just was not addressed at all out there. Like so many clients of mine, they'd be like, I have a condition. I looked up, the first time I see them, I'm like, what have you been doing for your condition? And they just be like, oh yeah, I Googled exercises for blah, and I do them.
Google balance exercises.
Yeah, exactly. Even like not even neuro related at all, just like general balance stuff.
Yeah. Looked at like, Googled in my symptoms. First thing that popped up was an ad for a yoga studio near me, so joined it.
Yep.
I'm like, that's amazing, really, really good. But again, we can tweak that to doing some extra things at home.
Yeah. Let's drill down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, of course I'm saying this, but I really think the PhysiKits are something special that address that gap that just doesn't really exist otherwise.
And if not PhysiKits, getting someone in face to face,
Yep.
because they will be able to do it in a really similar way. And I'm talking about someone with some experience in the field who knows what they're talking about and like teaches to a specific structure that helps you understand how to apply it in your life can be an amazing way of getting more to that specific impairment targeting. So, you might have someone come in, they do an assessment, they identify that there's this particular type of balance that you're missing or is not as effective as it could be, give you exercise to target that in your home using your equipment there. That is a pretty tricky process for some people to do themselves without someone talking them through it or coming in and doing it for them. So do not be afraid to get some external help.
Absolutely, absolutely. It comes down to I think in a few episodes back, we talked about the different models of rehab that are out there. And so, again, it comes down to your personal preferences, but we recommend finding someone who knows the neuro principles, then gives you teaches you how to do all these things at home, rules out the safety issues. They'll sort of ask what you have at home in context, to then apply the exercises to, how to mitigate your own balance risks or other safety risks at home, to get the volume in that's really necessary to have changes happen. And if that's not your style, or the physio decides it's not your style, well, that really shouldn't happen. But if they say you have some glaring safety issues, then you'll need the increased face-to-face support, and they'll be able to help you walk through that process. Yeah.
Must be said though, sometimes it's tricky for someone to get someone to come out to their house, just because of the way that business model has to run. It's far less efficient of a business model for the health practitioner themselves. It's really hard to accommodate for travel time and time spent in the intermission. So a lot of health companies don't offer home visit based things to come and assess in the home. So then, again, if that's a barrier, you get stuck again, being like, well, I don't even know where to start. So then nothing gets started. So again, it kind of comes back to what's available. We're trying to bridge that gap, but just following up with people in your area. If someone won't come and do it, try and find someone who will.
It's tricky because that's even a problem in Australia, where we're lucky to have government schemes that do help try and provide funding for people with disabilities to get rehab in the home. I imagine though, around the world, that maybe aren't so lucky to have schemes like here. It'll be even harder. But yeah, just keep on asking around, look out for resources. There. But even in that level, I think there are ways to get started with very, very basic stuff relatively safely. Even just trying to do foundational, just standing up and down from the chair. If you have someone that does support you, having them stand nearby, for example. If you have a walking aid that's nice and sturdy, like a frame, putting that in front of the chair, so you create a mini little environment that is safety, that you can fall back, you can grab on, you have someone there as well watching and making sure everything's going relatively safely.
As well as just trying a few progressions yourself.
Yeah.
Adding in a dual task of counting backwards from 100 in sevens. Just that's something you can just give it a go. You can just see what the impact is like on getting yourself to be challenged in a little bit more of a different way at home.
Once again though, I do think, especially when it comes to the more advanced things like that, just getting one session, if you can save up, if I know it can be a bit of an outlier, but saving up enough money to go get one session with a physio, just from the get-go say I only have enough for this one session. I want to know what I can get started with at home today, safely, that'll keep me going for a good while, and I can learn how to progress when the time comes. And then I'd like to come back in a few months' time when I'm ready to then take it to the next level. Could maybe do it that way. Yeah.
Then, so to wrap this all up on how to get someone started, what would be your very first step? Let's say you are this clinician that they've just paid to come over. And what is the very first step that you think would be great to get them tied into doing the rehab at home? So I'm thinking something along the line of an activity-based goal.
Yes, I agree.
So let's say you're the clinician, we'll be the client. So you just come into my house and said, hello, come on in, Kenzo, lovely to meet you, I'm Sam.
Nice to meet you, Sam. Nice name. Yeah, wait, why did you reach out? Like, what's happening day to day that you'd like help with?
Well, for a while now, I've been listening to these two legends on YouTube, and they seem like pretty smart blokes. And they give me a few pretty insightful tips and tricks that I've been working on myself. But I've just come to the conclusion of I would like to get a bit of an understanding of what you think would be a safe thing for me to get started. I've been doing a few things, like some sitting and standing by myself, and I used that PhysiKit. I got to self-assess why my strength wasn't as good.
Great.
All I could do was like 3 sit-to-stands in like 30 seconds to start. I'm up to 7 now, and I'm really happy. But I'd love to try and progress it along a little bit more.
Amazing. I'd love to know what got you started with like the sit-to-stands and leg strength. That's fantastic progress. But is there anything in mind that you're working towards?
Oh, this is a little bit tricky for me to say. But when it got to the night time, and I knew it was time to turn the TV off and get up to go to bed, I found it really hard. I couldn't get up. There would be nights when I would just feel too tired in my legs. I couldn't stand up all the way. I would sleep on the couch. So my goal was to be able to try and keep on being able to keep mobilised around my house, so I can go sleep in my comfortable bed and get a great 8 hours as best as possible.
That's fantastic. And has that gotten any easier? You've got the numbers up from 3 to 7.
Yes, it has gotten easier.
Great.
I've been able to get up a lot more, but now I've started to do a little bit more. I've noticed that my balance and my walking doesn't feel like what it should be on the trip from standing up to bed, especially when there's dim lights around. I got to turn the lights off. Like, my balance is nowhere near as good. I just don't feel as confident. So that's where I would love your help today, is to try and find some ways of trying to get that a little bit better.
I see. So I think that's a perfect example where we do a couple of assessments to try and figure out what's contributing to your balance problems there, and then try and provide some specific exercises to address those underlying issues. That along the lines of what you were thinking?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly.
I got too deep into the scenario.
I know. We're going to case study mode.
We went to case study mode.
Yeah.
But essentially, the activity goal there.
Yeah.
That I elaborate on so beautifully.
Yeah.
As the client.
So
was Kenzo asking me, what do you want to work on? For me, it was feeling more safe walking at night time, from my living room to the bedroom.
Yeah, and you can see how it sort of was evolving as time went on. So he'd already found his activity goal, and he'd prescribed his own. He'd identified strength as a problem towards his goal of getting up and going to the bedroom. Started working on it, made progress, but then it looked like he'd gotten in touch because he had realized that another factor was also playing into that goal, and that was balance. And so looking for a place to start there. And then if I was going to prescribe an exercise there, dibs on the person, of course, but I would have looked at his balance in a static way, seeing how he's on level footing. If that looked fine, maybe other factor in play, like maybe he struggles to right himself when things change direction. Getting a bit more and more specific. But yeah, that's often how it works. You start with it's a building block process, basically, where you start with one problem, you improve that enough so it's no longer a problem, you'll find another thing to work on, you work on that, it keeps on building that way.
I can't wait for our case study episodes.
I know.
I'm holding back from pouring out all these ideas for our little made-up case study, which we didn't really plan to do. But
if you click across to our community tab on the YouTube channel, we've just put up a poll with we're cooking up a few different ideas of podcast episodes. Case study being one where we run through modified versions of real cases that we've worked with, exploring their journey and how we've done things, how we would do things differently, etc. And also a few other ones related to research studies and things too. But we're both really keen on the case study one. Go vote for it, because the next one we'll do based on that poll.
I honestly, we could break down this case study in terms of recommendations, equipment, things to try, potential exercises. Immediately I go to, okay, it sounds like this darkness seems to be the biggest issue. We can we solve any vision problems? Can we get any different types of lighting set up along the hallway to be more automatic without having to have the switches off? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We won't dive into it today.
Yeah. We'll save that for the case study episode.
So subscribe, go vote. Vote, because there's a few people who vote for different things. It might get outvoted, to be honest.
Yeah. If it does, it's still coming in. It's in the works. We'll get to all of them eventually, but it'll decide the order in which we do things, because we tend to cook up too many ideas and we're so keen to get them all done. So good to have guidance from what you guys want to see most.
Well, that's probably a great place to wrap up the episode today.
I think so, yeah.
And
So essentially, to answer the question, can I exercise safely at home with a neuro condition? Absolutely. Best place to start, like, do I need equipment? No. You can get started with like essentially nothing, just your own body weight and stuff you have around the home. But you need to know like where to get started, and the place to get that information is ideally by looking up specific resources to your condition and your self-identified difficulties online. PhysiKits if you're down to dive deep. Otherwise, having like a face-to-face session just to get the groundwork started, so you know what to do safely at home and how. And then ask specifically like how can I take this, like how can I plan for the future with these exercises to then progress myself and trying to learn the basics there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great wrap up. Well, again, if you've enjoyed this video, please just subscribe. It means the world to us, and that way you get these videos sent straight to you as soon as they get released.
Yeah.
And yeah, so people have been really enjoying the content, and this is just the best way of helping us keep on creating more.
Yep. If you have any other questions relating to like exercising at home, leave them in the comments below. Pop onto the poll again to like help have your say in what's coming next. If something isn't there as well, always happy to have your suggestions, and we'll get around to those too.
Yeah, if you have any bits of exercise equipment that you find is really handy, is like your number one pick, chuck it in a comment then down below. As I'm sure a lot of people would be very excited to hear more exercise suggestions as they expand their little home gym themselves.
Absolutely, I'm curious too what people are using. So yeah, let us know.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
See you next one.